After I became a millionaire, his proposal suddenly felt wrong. I'm Isabel Chambers, founder and creative director of Chambers & Comer, a luxury fragrance and lifestyle brand that turned my small Boston studio into a global empire worth $43 million. I built it from nothing, from handwritten formulas in my grandmother's kitchen to flagship stores in Paris, Tokyo, and New York. But success has a way of showing you things you spent years refusing to see. The night he proposed, I was standing in my penthouse overlooking Boston Harbor, watching the lights flicker across the water like broken promises. The ring was beautiful. Platinum, cushion-cut diamond, exactly what I would have chosen for myself 3 years ago. He'd researched it. He'd planned it. He'd done everything right. And yet the moment he dropped to one knee, something inside me went cold. Not because I didn't love him. I did. At least I thought I did. But as I looked down at Daniel, kind, dependable Daniel, who'd been with me since before the first investor meeting, before the brand launch, before everything, I felt something I couldn't name. A quiet, persistent wrongness that settled in my chest like smoke. Isabel? His voice was soft, hopeful. Will you marry me? I said yes. Of course I said yes. What kind of woman says no to a man who's loved her through sleepless nights and failed prototypes and every unglamorous moment of building something from scratch? But as he slipped the ring onto my finger, I felt like I was watching myself from somewhere far away. Like I was playing a role I'd been cast in without auditioning. Before we continue, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Like this video, so this story reaches more hearts, and subscribe for the next journeys. The penthouse smells like bergamot and white tea, my signature scent, the one that started everything. It's the smell of my success, bottled and sold in crystal flacons across 6 continents. But tonight it feels suffocating, like I'm drowning in my own creation. Daniel kisses me, and I kiss him back. He tastes like champagne and certainty. He's already talking about venues, about timelines, about calling his parents in the morning. His excitement is genuine, infectious even. He's wanted this for so long. And I realize, with a clarity that makes my hands shake, I don't know if I ever did. Are you happy? He asks, pulling back to look at me. Of course, I say, and the lie comes so easily it frightens me. He doesn't notice. He never notices. That's part of the problem, isn't it? Or maybe I've just become too good at hiding. The city stretches below us. My city, the one I conquered with nothing but instinct and ambition. From up here, everything looks small, manageable, under control. But inside, I feel like I'm standing at the edge of something I can't see. Something that's been waiting for me to finally acknowledge it. The ring catches the light, throwing tiny rainbows across my wrist. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's everything I should want. So why does it feel like a trap? The morning after the proposal, I wake to the smell of coffee and the sound of Daniel humming in the kitchen. It's Saturday. He's making breakfast, probably Eggs Benedict, his weekend specialty. The penthouse is flooded with October light, golden and clear, the kind of light that makes everything look like it belongs in a magazine spread, which, ironically, it often does. Architectural Digest featured this space last spring. A sanctuary of minimalist luxury, they called it. I lie in bed for a moment, staring at the ring on my finger. It feels heavier than it should. Daniel appears in the doorway with a tray. Coffee, fresh berries, perfectly plated eggs. He's already dressed in his weekend uniform. Pressed chinos, navy sweater, that easy smile that first drew me to him 6 years ago at a networking event I almost didn't attend. "Good morning, fiancé," he says. And there's such joy in his voice that I feel something twist inside me. I sit up, accepting the tray. "You didn't have to do all this," Of course I did. It's a celebration. He sits on the edge of the bed, watching me with that open, uncomplicated affection that should make me feel safe. Instead, I feel like I'm being studied. My mother already called 3 times, he continues, laughing. She wants to know if we've set a date. I told her to give us at least 24 hours before the Inquisition begins. I take a sip of coffee. Perfect temperature, exactly the right amount of cream, and nod. Smart. I was thinking spring, he says carefully. Maybe May? That gives us 7 months to plan. Nothing too extravagant. Something elegant. Intimate. What do you think? What I think is that he's already planned this entire conversation. Already knows what he wants. And he's asking me as a formality, expecting me to agree because I always agree. May sounds lovely, I hear myself say. He beams, leans in to kiss my forehead. I knew you'd love it. I'll start looking at venues next week. After he leaves the bedroom, I sit alone with my breakfast getting cold and a question I can't quite form taking shape in my mind. The penthouse is silent, except for the soft hum of the city 23 floors below. I built this life with precision, every detail chosen, every element intentional. The custom Italian marble, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the art collection I started acquiring 3 years ago when the brand's first flagship store opened in Soho. But sitting here now, surrounded by evidence of everything I've accomplished, I feel like I'm living in someone else's dream. My phone buzzes. A text from my best friend and brand director, Maya. Saw the ring on your story. Call me immediately. I posted it last night. A carefully composed shot of my hand on Daniel's shoulder, the diamond catching the light. 15,000 likes in 8 hours. The comments were predictable. Congratulations. You deserve this. Power couple goals. I don't call Maya. Not yet. I can't explain what I don't understand myself. Instead, I walk to my home office, a glass-walled room overlooking the harbor where I do my most important work. On my desk sits a leather journal I've kept since the beginning. I flip it open to a random page from 4 years ago, when the brand was just starting to gain traction. The handwriting is rushed, excited. Daniel doesn't understand why I'm working until 2 a.m. again. Says I need balance, but this isn't work. This is everything I am. How do I explain that to someone who clocks out at 6? I read the words twice. Then I close the journal and place it back on the desk. Something cold, settling in my stomach. How long have I been writing warnings to myself that I refuse to read? Monday morning arrives with the precision of a Swiss watch. I'm in my corner office at Chambers & Cummer headquarters in Back Bay by 7:30, an hour before anyone else. This has always been my ritual, the quiet before the storm, when the building belongs only to me and my thoughts. The office smells like leather, and the sample bottles lined up on my credenza. 32 different formulations I'm testing for next spring's collection. Each one a small world contained in glass. I'm reviewing quarterly projections when Maya knocks and enters without waiting for permission. She's carrying 2 lattes and wearing an expression I know too well. The one that says she's about to ask questions I don't want to answer. So, she says, setting a cup in front of me. You've been engaged for 3 days, and you haven't called me once. That's either very suspicious or very telling. I've been busy. You're always busy. That's never stopped you before. She sits across from me, her dark eyes sharp with concern. Talk to me, Belle. I take a sip of the latte. Perfect, as always. Maya knows me better than anyone. We built this company together, spending countless nights in that tiny studio apartment, mixing oils and arguing about branding until sunrise. There's nothing to talk about, I say. Daniel proposed. I said yes. It's good news. Then why do you look like someone who just signed a contract she didn't read? The accuracy of that statement makes me flinch. Maya leans forward. I've known you for 8 years. I've seen you negotiate with venture capitalists who tried to lowball you. I've watched you fire a CFO who was embezzling funds without blinking. You don't do anything you're not absolutely certain about. Maybe I'm certain about this. Are you? The question hangs in the air between us like smoke. I want to say yes. I want to feel the certainty I felt when I chose the name for this company, when I decided to mortgage everything I owned for the first production run, when I stood in front of investors and promised them something that didn't exist yet. But I can't. He's good to me, I say finally. He's stable. He's been there through everything. That's not what I asked. Maya's voice is gentle now. Belle, being good to you and being right for you aren't the same thing. I look down at the ring. In the morning light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, it throws tiny prisms across my desk. Beautiful, expensive, exactly what I should want. Do you remember what you said to me the night we signed our first major distribution deal? Maya asks quietly. I shake my head. You said, I finally feel like myself, like I've been holding my breath my whole life and I can finally exhale. You were so alive, so certain. She pauses. When's the last time you felt that way with Daniel? The question hits somewhere deep, somewhere I've been carefully avoiding. I think about Saturday morning, Sunday brunch with his parents, the way everyone kept congratulating us, kept talking about the wedding, kept asking about children and timelines and 5-year plans. And I think about how I smiled and nodded and said all the right things while feeling like I was watching my life happen to someone else. It's just cold feet, I say, but the words sound hollow even to me. Every bride feels this way. Maybe. Maya stands, picking up her latte. Or maybe you're finally successful enough that you don't have to settle for anything less than what you actually want. She walks to the door, then turns back. Just make sure you're choosing him, Belle. Not just accepting him because it's easier than admitting you've outgrown this. After she leaves, I sit alone in my office, surrounded by everything I've built. The truth I've been avoiding sits in my chest like a stone. I don't know if I ever really chose Daniel, or if he was just there, safe, uncomplicated. The kind of partner who made sense when I was too busy building an empire to question whether sense was enough. My phone buzzes. A text from Daniel. Dinner at Ostra tonight? 7:30? Want to celebrate properly? I stare at the message for a long moment. Then I type back, perfect. But my hands are shaking. Ostra is Daniel's favorite restaurant. Understated elegance, pristine seafood, the kind of place where conversations happen in hushed tones, and everyone looks like they belong in a wealth management brochure. I arrive exactly on time, wearing a black silk dress, and the ring that keeps catching every light, every glance, every waiter's congratulations. Daniel is already seated at our usual table by the window. He stands when he sees me, kisses my cheek, pulls out my chair. Always the gentleman. Always perfectly choreographed. You look beautiful, he says. Thank you. The waiter appears with champagne, Dom Pérignon, already ordered. Daniel raises his glass. To us, he says. To our future. I touch my glass to his, and the crystal chime sounds like a small, bright warning. We order. We talk about his day at the consulting firm, about a difficult client, about his colleague who just made partner. I listen, nod, ask the appropriate questions. This is our rhythm. This is what we do. Then he says, I've been thinking about the honeymoon. Already? I know it's early, but I found this incredible resort in Santorini. All-inclusive, adults only, 5-star everything. I can book it now before the spring dates fill up. He pulls out his phone, starts showing me photos. Look at this view, and this suite. It has a private infinity pool. The images are stunning. White buildings against impossible blue sky. Luxury distilled into pixels. It's beautiful, I say. I knew you'd love it. I'll put down the deposit tomorrow. He's already scrolling through dates, calculating, planning. And something inside me finally breaks. Daniel. He looks up, still smiling. Yes? Can we slow down for a second? His smile falters. What do you mean? This. All of this. The venue planning, the honeymoon, the timelines. We got engaged 3 days ago. Can't we just breathe? He sets down his phone carefully, and I see something shift in his expression. Confusion. Maybe hurt. I thought you'd be excited about this, he says. About planning our life together. I am. I search for words that won't wound him. I just need a moment to process everything. Process what? We've been together for 6 years, Isabel. This isn't exactly a surprise. And there it is. The thing I've been feeling but couldn't name. That's the problem, I hear myself say. It's not a surprise. None of this is. Daniel goes very still. I don't understand. The waiter arrives with our appetizers, oysters for him, burrata for me, both untouched as the silence between us grows heavy. You had this entire proposal planned, I continue, my voice quieter now. The ring I would have chosen, the restaurant, the timeline. Even this honeymoon resort, you didn't ask me what I wanted. You just knew. Or thought you knew. I was trying to make it perfect for you. No. The word comes out sharper than I intended. You were making it perfect for the version of me you think you know. The version from 3 years ago, before everything changed. His jaw tightens. What's changed, Isabel? Everything, I want to say. Everything and nothing. I've changed, I say instead. The business, the success, the person I've become. I'm not the same woman you started dating. And sometimes I think you haven't noticed. That's not fair. His voice carries an edge now, something I rarely hear from him. I've supported you through everything. Every late night, every business trip, every time you chose work over us. I never complained. I was there. I know you were. Then what is this really about? I look at him across the table, this good, kind man who loves me in the only way he knows how, and I realize the cruelty of what I'm about to say. When you proposed, I say slowly, you said you wanted to build a life with me. But Daniel, I've already built my life, and I don't think there's room in it for the kind of partnership you're imagining. The words hang between us like shattered glass. Are you saying you don't want to marry me? His voice is barely above a whisper. I'm saying I don't know if I ever did. Or if I just said yes, because it was easier than admitting I've been going through the motions for longer than I want to acknowledge. He sits back in his chair, and I watch something crumble behind his eyes. How long have you felt this way? That's the question, isn't it? The one I've been avoiding since the moment he knelt down. I don't know, I admit. Maybe always. Or maybe just since I stopped needing someone to validate my choices. The champagne sits untouched. The oysters are already starting to look wrong in the low light. Daniel's hands are flat on the table, and I notice for the first time how different they are from mine. His are smooth, uncomplicated. Mine carries small scars from broken beakers and chemical burns, evidence of every risk I took to become who I am. I love you, he says, and there's something desperate in it now. I know, I whisper, but I don't think I love you the way you deserve to be loved. And I think you've known that for a long time, too. He doesn't deny it. We don't finish dinner. Daniel pays the bill in silence, and we walk out into the cool Boston night like strangers who happen to share a table. The valet brings his car, a sensible Audi, always perfectly maintained, and we drive back to the penthouse without speaking. The city passes by in blurred lights and shadows. I watch my reflection in the window, barely recognizing the woman staring back. When we arrive, Daniel doesn't pull into the garage. He parks on the street, engine still running. "I need some time," he says, not looking at me. "I'm going to stay at my place tonight." His place. I'd forgotten he still kept his own apartment in Cambridge, though he's barely spent a night there in 2 years. A backup plan he never mentioned letting go of. Maybe he always knew too. "Daniel, please." His hands grip the steering wheel. I need to think. I nod, reaching for the door handle. Then I stop, pulling the ring from my finger. The metal feels warm, foreign. "You should take this." He stares at the ring like it's something dangerous. "Isabel, please," I echo his word back to him. It's not fair to keep it when I don't know what I want. His hand shakes as he takes it from me, closing his fingers around it. 6 years, he says quietly. We built 6 years together. That has to mean something. It does, I say, and I mean it. It means everything. But Daniel, we built 6 years of a life that worked when I was still becoming someone. I don't know if it works now that I've arrived. He finally looks at me, and his eyes are wet. You were always someone, Isabel. I saw that from the beginning. Maybe that's what you can't forgive me for. That I loved you before you were a millionaire, when you were just you. The words cut deeper than anything else tonight. Because he's right. Part of what feels wrong isn't him. It's that he represents a version of myself I've spent years trying to transcend. The woman who worked in a tiny studio, who didn't know if her dreams would materialize, who needed someone stable to lean on. I've outgrown that woman, and I've outgrown the relationship she entered. I'm sorry, I whisper. He nods once, then looks away. Me too. I step out into the night, and he drives away before I can say anything else. The penthouse feels enormous and empty. I stand in the living room, still wearing my coat, still holding my purse, staring at the city below. $43 million worth of success, and I've never felt more alone. My phone buzzes. Maya. Are you okay? I don't know how she knows. Maybe she always knows. I call her instead of texting. What happened? She answers on the first ring. I gave the ring back. Silence. Then, oh, Belle. I told him the truth, that I don't know if I ever really wanted this. That I've been pretending for longer than I can admit. How did he take it? Like someone who's been expecting bad news but hoping it wouldn't come. I sink onto the sofa, suddenly exhausted. He said I can't forgive him for loving me before I was successful. And maybe he's right. That's not fair to yourself, Maya says gently. This isn't about punishing him for being there in the beginning. It's about recognizing that the person you were then needed different things than the person you are now. When did I become so ruthless? You're not ruthless. You're honest. There's a difference. I look around the penthouse, this monument to everything I've achieved. Every piece carefully chosen, every detail intentional. I built this space to reflect the woman I wanted to become, but I filled it with a relationship that reflected the woman I used to be. I feel like I should be devastated, I admit. Like I should be crying or panicking or regretting what I just did. But instead I just feel clear. Like I can finally breathe properly. That's not ruthless, Belle. That's relief. The word settles into me like truth. Relief. God, what does that say about me? that I'm relieved to hurt someone who never did anything but love me. It says you're human, and that you're brave enough to choose integrity over comfort. Maya pauses. Most people spend their whole lives in relationships that feel wrong because admitting it feels worse. You didn't. I walk to the window, pressing my palm against the cool glass. The city pulses below, millions of people living their complicated, messy lives. I kept thinking something was wrong with me, I say quietly, that I was broken or damaged or incapable of appreciating a good man. But the truth is simpler than that, isn't it? What's the truth? That I don't want a partnership built on stability and compromise. I want something that feels like building this company felt. Terrifying and exhilarating and absolutely certain, all at once. And Daniel wasn't that. No. The admission feels like liberation. He was safe. He was comfortable. He was everything I should want. But he wasn't what I actually want. Maya is quiet for a moment. Then, do you know what you actually want? I think about the question. Really think about it. I want someone who sees me as I am now. Not who I was, not who I might become, but exactly who I am in this moment. Ambitious and difficult, and occasionally impossible. I want someone who doesn't need me to dim any part of myself to make them comfortable. That's not ruthless, Belle. That's self-respect. We talk for another hour. She doesn't tell me I made the right choice or the wrong one. She just listens while I untangle 6 years of threads I've been too afraid to pull. When we finally hang up, I'm alone again. But this time, the solitude feels different. It feels like possibility. 3 weeks pass in a strange, suspended clarity. Daniel and I exchange practical texts. He'll come by for his things on Saturday. He's staying with a friend. He needs time before we talk again. I agree to everything. There's nothing left to negotiate. Work becomes my sanctuary again, the way it was in the beginning. I throw myself into the spring collection with a focus I haven't felt in years. The fragrances I'm developing feel sharper, more honest. Notes of bergamot and black pepper. Something bold and unapologetic. Maya watches me with quiet concern, but she doesn't push. She knows me well enough to let me process in my own time. It's a Thursday afternoon when everything shifts. I'm in the development lab on the 3rd floor, testing a new formulation, when my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer. Isabel Chambers? The voice is warm, professional, unfamiliar. Speaking. This is Grace Lawson from Artemis Capital. We're a women-focused venture fund based in New York. I've been following Chambers & Co. for the past year, and I'd love to discuss a potential partnership opportunity. I set down the glass pipette carefully. What kind of partnership? We're interested in funding a significant expansion, international markets, vertical integration, perhaps a secondary brand line. But more than that, we invest in female founders who are building something that matters. Your story, your vision, it aligns with everything we believe in. We talk for 40 minutes. She asks questions that show she's done her research about my sourcing philosophy, my long-term vision, the gaps I see in the luxury market, questions that Daniel never thought to ask. When we hang up, she's invited me to New York next week for a formal pitch meeting. I sit alone in the lab, surrounded by bottles and beakers and the clean, sharp smell of possibility, and I feel something I haven't felt in months. Excitement. Pure, uncomplicated excitement. Not because someone is offering me money, though the numbers she mentioned would triple my current valuation, but because someone sees what I'm building and wants to help me build it bigger. Saturday arrives. Daniel comes to collect his things at noon, exactly when he said he would. Always punctual, always predictable. I've packed everything in neat boxes, his books, his clothes, the coffee maker he insisted on buying, The framed photo of us at his sister's wedding 3 years ago, where we both look so young, so certain. He moves through the penthouse like a ghost, checking drawers, making sure he hasn't forgotten anything. I stay in the kitchen, giving him space. When he's finished, he finds me there, standing by the window with a cup of tea I haven't touched. "I think that's everything," he says. "Okay." We stand in awkward silence for a moment. Then he says, "You look different." "Different how?" "Lighter. Like you've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down." The observation is so accurate it stings. "Daniel?" "It's okay," he interrupts gently. "I'm not angry anymore. I was at first. But I've been thinking about what you said at the restaurant. About how I loved the version of you I met 6 years ago. And you're right. I did." I meet his eyes, seeing something I haven't seen before. Clarity. Acceptance. "The truth is," he continues, "I've been holding on to who we were because it felt safe. Because it was the best relationship I'd ever had, even when it stopped being the right one. But you deserve more than someone who loves your past. And I deserve more than someone who has to dim herself to make me feel necessary." "You were necessary," I say, meaning it. "You gave me stability when I needed it. You believed in me when the company was just an idea. That mattered." "I know. But belief isn't enough to build a marriage on." He picks up one of the boxes. "For what it's worth, I think you're going to do incredible things. And I think you needed to be free to do them." "I'm sorry it took me so long to be honest." "Me too." He pauses at the door, looking back one more time. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Isabel. I really do. I hope you do too." He leaves, and the door closes with a soft, final click. I stand alone in the penthouse, truly alone now, in a way I haven't been in 6 years. And I don't feel sad. I feel ready. The following Tuesday, I take the train to New York. The Artemis Capital offices are in a converted loft in Tribeca, all exposed brick and natural light, and the kind of intentional design that speaks to success without shouting about it. Grace Lawson meets me in the reception area. She's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with silver-streaked hair, and the kind of confidence that comes from building something meaningful. "Isabel, thank you for coming." We shake hands, and I feel an immediate spark of recognition. Not attraction, something different. Kinship, maybe. The understanding between two women who fought for every inch of their success. The pitch meeting is supposed to last an hour. It stretches to 3. We talk about markets and margins, about brand philosophy and long-term vision. But we also talk about what it means to build something as a woman in an industry that still assumes male founders are more credible. About the compromises we refuse to make. About the parts of ourselves we've had to protect to stay whole. When it's over, Grace walks me to the elevator. "We'll have a formal offer to you by end of week," she says. "But off the record, I think this could be extraordinary. What you've built alone is remarkable. What you could build with the right support, it could change the industry." The elevator doors open, and I step inside. "Grace?" I turn back. "Thank you, not just for the opportunity, for seeing what this could be." She smiles, warm, knowing. Women who build empires recognize each other, Isabel. I saw it the moment you walked in. On the train back to Boston, I watched the landscape blur past and think about the past month. The proposal that felt wrong. The relationship I finally admitted had ended long before I gave back the ring. The clarity that came from choosing truth over comfort. And now this. An opportunity that feels like the universe confirming what I already knew. I don't need someone to complete me. I need space to become more fully myself. My phone buzzes. Maya. How did it go? I type back. I think everything is about to change. Good change? I look at my reflection in the train window. This woman I've fought so hard to become. The best kind. 6 months later, I'm standing in the same penthouse, but everything has changed. The Artemis deal closed in January. We've opened flagships in London and Milan. The spring collection sold out in 4 days. Forbes called me the architect of modern luxury. But that's not the revelation that matters. The revelation came on a quiet Sunday morning in March. I was alone, truly, contentedly alone, having coffee and reading the business section when my phone rang. Daniel's name appeared on the screen. We hadn't spoken since that Saturday in November. Hello? Isabel. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. How are you? Good. Really good, actually. There was something different in his voice. Lighter, more genuine. I'm calling because, well, I wanted you to hear it from me. I'm engaged. I felt my breath catch. Not from jealousy, from relief so profound it almost made me laugh. Daniel, that's wonderful. Who is she? Her name is Rebecca. She's a teacher. We met at my sister's book club, of all places. He laughed, and it was the most authentic sound I'd heard from him in years. She's nothing like you. She wants a quiet life, a house in the suburbs, kids, the whole traditional thing. And I realized that's what I wanted too. I just spent so long trying to fit into your world that I forgot what mine looked like. I'm happy for you, I said, and meant it completely. I wanted to thank you, actually, for being honest enough to end it. I was hurt at the time, but you were right. We were holding on to something that stopped fitting both of us. After we hung up, I sat with my coffee and looked out at the city I'd conquered. And I understood, finally, what had felt so wrong about his proposal. It wasn't that he was a bad man or that our relationship was terrible. It was that I had outgrown the version of myself who needed what he offered. The proposal felt wrong, because accepting it would have meant choosing security over truth, comfort over growth, the woman I used to be over the woman I was becoming. After I became a millionaire, I stopped needing external validation for my choices. I stopped needing someone to make my life feel complete. I stopped settling for relationships that required me to shrink. The wealth didn't change me. It revealed me. It gave me the freedom to finally admit what I'd been too afraid to acknowledge, that I didn't want a traditional partnership built on compromise and complementary weaknesses. I wanted sovereignty, space. The kind of relationship that would be an expansion of who I am, not a container for who I used to be. Daniel's proposal felt wrong because it was right for someone I no longer was. It's evening now, late May, and I'm getting ready for the opening of our Paris flagship. The penthouse is quieter than it used to be, but the silence no longer feels empty. It feels intentional, chosen. Maya arrives to pick me up, wearing emerald green and her signature red lipstick. Ready to conquer Paris? She asks. Always. In the car, she studies me with that knowing look. You seem different lately, more settled. I am. Daniel called you, didn't he? I saw his engagement announcement. I nod. He's happy, really happy, with someone who wants the life he wants. And you're okay with that? More than okay. I'm grateful. I look out at the city lights flickering past. I spent so long thinking something was wrong with me for not wanting what I was supposed to want. But there's nothing wrong with knowing yourself well enough to choose differently. No, Maya agrees softly. There's not. The Paris opening is spectacular. Champagne and celebrities, and my fragrances displayed like art. Grace Lawson flew in from New York, along with 3 other Artemis partners. We're already discussing the next expansion. But the moment that matters happens later, long after midnight, when I'm alone on the balcony of my hotel suite overlooking the Seine. I think about the woman who stood in that Boston penthouse 6 months ago, wearing a ring that felt like a trap. I think about the courage it took to admit the truth, to choose integrity over ease, to believe I deserved more than a life that merely looked right. And I think about the woman I've become, not despite the difficult choice, but because of it. After I became a millionaire, his proposal suddenly felt wrong. Not because wealth made me cruel or ungrateful, or incapable of love, but because wealth gave me the freedom to finally be honest about what kind of love I actually wanted. And the revelation wasn't that I didn't want partnership. It was that I refused to settle for partnership built on who I used to be, instead of who I've become. The proposal felt wrong because I had finally become someone who knew the difference between what looks right and what feels true. And I chose truth. I chose myself. That's not ruthlessness. That's revolution. The Seine glitters below, ancient and beautiful, and constantly moving forward. Just like me. The end. If this story touched you, leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments and subscribe for the next journey.